Hello, I'm Ian Stafford and I'm here with the former British and Irish Lion and England captain Lewis Moody, and we'll be previewing round 2 of the Six Nations exclusively for BetSafe. Before we do, I think it's probably worth having a quick look back, Lewis, at the weekend just gone, and not quite what we expected.
The predictions were solid, I thought.
Not really.
I am wondering if you brought your milk tray with you today, though.
Right.
Did you?
It's a very old joke. So, Lewis,
weekend.
what was the question? The question was the weekend just gone. Scotland-Ireland, cracking game. I think we both felt Ireland might just edge it.
I still felt Ireland would edge it, even in the last 20 minutes. Scotland did incredibly well. First 20 minutes, Hogg, two beautiful tries. Scotland kept the pressure on. Ireland did as we presumed they would and edged their way back into the game. But you have to take your hats off to Scotland and the way that they played and the way they shut that game out and the quality of the rugby that they're playing at the moment. Because I think everyone watching, including myself, would have seen Ireland come back and sneak that victory, especially with the wins they've had over some hemisphere teams like New Zealand recently.
Did you get the memo about dressing smart, by the way? Obviously not.
No.
Okay. England.
I did bring some milk tray though.
Did you? Good. Yeah, and I bought the smart clothes. So there we go. England, France. We both predicted England would win, but I don't think neither of us quite saw it being as tight, or indeed the French being as so good. Was it the French being good or the English being rusty?
I think a good combination actually. So the French were definitely the best that I've seen them play in quite some time. And England did look very, very rusty indeed. I think some of the combinations, through forced, Eddie's hand was forced through injury. I don't think the back row combination worked. Hughes, for all the scintillating form he has for Wasps, didn't look an international player in that. I thought Wood had some poor decision making. I'd be excited to see James Haskell. I mean, the bench at the weekend for England. Look at the positives for England. The bench were outstanding. Noel, hungry as you like to play and get back in that team. Haskell desperate to earn his spot back after knocking himself after 35 seconds against Leicester, was it a month or so ago. And Bentillo, first cap, first try. Wonderful for him. So the bench did exactly what we needed, and I wouldn't be surprised if Noel and Haskell both start the next match.
And rather reminiscent of the great England team that you were part of, the team that won the World Cup. They didn't play great, but they found a way, and it's always a good sign, isn't it, when you produce one of your worst performances, but you still come out with a win.
Yeah, I thought, the important part for me, without stuttering too much through that, the important part for me after that game was, Eddie Jones. It was quite interesting, to see him accept responsibility. I didn't prepare the boys well enough, but then also not go into, some chat about, oh, it was amazing, we got the win, that's all that matters, blah, blah, blah. Yes, they did get the win, and that is very important, but actually then came out and said, our performance was awful, which I think is equally important for a coach and players to accept when you underperform. But coming back to your point, which was, will they be happy with the fact that they played poorly and won? Yes, I think you're on the right path if you're still winning when you're having, as bad a game as England had at the weekend. The kicking, England went in, and Eddie went in saying that he wanted the team to be daring from the first minute, and it was literally the polar opposite of that. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out against Wales at the weekend.
And finally, Wales v Italy, Lewis. Wales won, we predicted they'd win, and we predicted that they'd come good as the game went on. Don't think we saw Italy leading at half time though.
No, I honestly thought Italy would get put to the sword by Wales, but early on you see the slick hands, the involvement of Mike Cat that's come into that Italian game now, Conor O'Shea as well. But their try, was straight out of the oldest of old school rugby manuals, hit the man 5 yards from the try line, stand the ball up, driving maul, and take the front three over, and they did. And credit to them, they got on the scoreboard early, and they had Wales under pressure for 60 minutes. But as Conor O'Shea said before the game, he doesn't want his Italian side to be that team that plays for 60 minutes and then gets put away. But sadly, that is ultimately what happened. And Mike Cat and Connor, have got a good deal of work to do to sort that.
Quick word about Sergio Parisi, as a former international back rower himself. At times it was almost, with respect to Italy, it was Sergio against Wales. I mean, the guy is just phenomenal.
I love Sergio Parisi as a player. He's just wonderful. You haven't him any other team in the world. Be up there, he is up there anyway in terms of number 8s and great number 8s that have played the game. I do think at times actually he let his emotion get the better of him. Especially as a leader and a captain on the field. That's one thing that he needs to keep in check. He was guilty of giving away, I think 10 yards for arguing with the ref, back chat, repeated infringements. So for the quality that he has as a player, you can see the frustration that he's having with his teammates in being so close and doing so well, yet not quite being able to get over the finish line again.
Okay, so looking ahead to this weekend, the first game is Italy back in Rome against Ireland. Ireland will be smarting after that defeat. It's not what they were looking for. They were probably eyeing up a title, which of course they may still win, but they've got to do the business against Italy. Italy will be smarting, and they want to play for 80 minutes, won't they?
Do you know what? Ireland will be absolutely devastated, but it's a classic Six Nations. That first game, you just never know what's going to happen. Players have been apart for so long. Will they come together quickly and gel? England clearly didn't. France did. Scotland did. That probably helps with the fact that they have a vast number of players playing for Glasgow. But Ireland will be desperate to put it right at the weekend to make sure they get a bonus point win as well. Will be crucial for them. They took a point out of the game at the weekend, but that's certainly not enough for them if they've got, and they do have, dreams of winning another title.
Yeah, interestingly, nobody got a try bonus point last weekend. So even though Ireland lost, if they can pick up bonus points in every game, and they beat England in Dublin, they can still win the title.
Wales should have had a bonus point, shouldn't they? When you go back and replay that last couple of seconds, and Lee Williams goes for the corner and loses it. I think his teammates, you can see in the background, calling for the ball desperately, sort of no, we need it. So I think it'll be interesting to see the analysis for the Welsh team. I'm sure Lee will get a bit of stick there, but they'll be happy with the win first and foremost. Against an Italian side who will also want to go out and cause issues and trouble for the Irish.
Yeah, apart from playing for 80 minutes as opposed to 60 minutes, Italy have also got to do something about their discipline, haven't they? They gave away far too many penalties.
Yeah, and at the highest level, those are the sort of differences that cost you, win you, or lose you the game. And for Italy at the weekend, it just kept eating away at the progress that they were making. Do something good, end up going back half a length to the pitch. So if they can address that, they'll be in a much better position. But really, Mike Cat and Conor O'Shea need to get to the bottom of how they get an 80-minute performance out of Italy, not 60, because they have got some great players. The half-backs, the 9 and 10 played particularly well. I thought on the weekend. They're young, but they look, they look comfortable. Okay,
well, the stats are Italy to win 8-1, a draw 39-1, and Ireland to win 20-1 on. That's pretty emphatic, isn't it, for an Irish win?
And I think, having said that, obviously after predictions from the first weekend, nothing is clear cut or obvious anymore. But you would say that Ireland have a fairly easy game there and should dominate the Italians, especially on the performance that we saw from the weekend. Especially knowing that they will be desperate to go and claim a bonus point.
Yeah. Also on that point, they are 11-10 on to win by more than 22 points. That's doable.
That is doable. Yeah, I think that's a reasonable bet actually. 22 points. So.
Wales won by 30 points.
Yeah.
And they were 7-3 down at half time. They won 33-3.
Yeah, I think that's a very good bet.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to Wales versus England. Please. And that's going to be an absolute cracker, isn't it? England will want to play better than they did. Wales will want to play better than they did at in the first half. And you played in Cardiff many times. The Welsh will be right up for this, won't they?
Eddie's spoken in the press about the history and Wales being a tough place to go and win, and wanting the Welsh to create an atmosphere of hatred because he wants to thrive off that. He wants his players to enjoy it, and he's dead right what he said. Good teams. So he put good teams. Actually, great teams win away from home consistently, and that's something England have struggled to do in recent years. Probably since that World Cup win back in 2003. So it's time, if England really have ambitions of going on, winning another Grand Slam, being a really quality, consistent side but challenging for that number one spot in the world, then they need to win away from home in Wales. And the Welsh will make it really, really quite challenging for them.
Yeah, what's it like being an England player going to Cardiff? I mean, you told me stories in the past of even on the coach going to the ground. It's made very clear that they're desperate to beat you.
Well, it's one of those stadiums, isn't there? There's not many in the world where the stadiums are actually situated directly in the centre of the city. Murrayfield's outside of the city, Twickenham's outside of the city. But Lansdowne and the Aviva now and the Millennium, or the King Power Stadium, they keep getting changed. They're right in the city centre. So as soon as you come out, you're into the hubbub. You're mixing with the fans, and I remember the journeys on the way into the matches. You've got hordes of both fans, but predominantly the Welsh. Singing very passionately. Some slightly drunk. I remember one chap actually took a run up out the bus and charged it with his head. Safe to say, he came off worse than the bus when we sort of carried on. And looked at him just laying on the road, and his friends taunting us still whilst he was prostrate on the floor. But it's that environment, it's that sort of gladiatorial environment that it creates, and that's why you love it. That's why you want to go there and play, because it challenges you more than any other place. And it will be a real test for England at the weekend. On the pitch, on the way to the game, after the game. All those little external factors will be playing on this performance.
And you're fully expecting England to step up quite markedly from their performance against France.
Well, they have to step up, whether we expect it or not. If they want to win, that performance needs to be better. There's no way if they play like they did against France, they will not win in Wales. I think Eddie will make a few changes. Whether it's Hughes or Wood, I think Haskell will come in. I suspect he may give Hughes another opportunity in that 8 berth, because it was his first start, and he has been on scintillating form for Wasps. So can he convert that on the international basis? So then will Wood miss out with Itoje staying in that 6th slot, who also, I think didn't have his greatest game. A number of penalties, maybe misjudged tackle timing, whatever. But that whole three across the back row need an improved performance. I think there was a lot said about Dylan Hartley's performance. I can't see Eddie Jones dropping Dylan, but the pressure is now on him from a quality player like Jamie George, who sits on the bench. You've got Jack Noel, who looked incredibly hungry. I don't think Elliot Daly did anything wrong with it. I think the kick that he got just before half time was an absolute beaut, and really shows his skill. So that Jack Noel just looks hungry when he comes on the rugby pitch. It's exciting to watch. For their impact alone, last weekend's game, I'd like to see Haskell and Noel start for sure.
You mentioned about a quick word about Wales. The Alan Wynne-Jones as the captain, Sam Warburton as the player back to being the infantry seems to work well. This is a man who's lost his mojo, who's been out of form. He was one of the standout players for Wales last weekend.
Absolutely, and Tipuric. I've sung Tipuric's praises for a long time. And they've played with Lydia and Warburton. Lydia, a world-class player, a lion in his own right, and Fatal. But you're right, sometimes we see him, when Chris Robshaw is alleviated of the captaincy, actually his game improves because there's less burden. Sam got the captaincy at a very young age. He's done it for a long time now, and maybe he just needed a break. And actually, a lot of people thought Alan Wynne-Jones would get it ahead of Sam in the first place. So, Alan Wynne has been a leader. He continues to be a leader. He's a natural fit into that captain's role, and actually it's allowed Sam to play much better, and the triumvirate across that back row, I think, had one of their better performances, certainly in that second half.
Where's it going to be won and where's it going to be lost?
Being a back row, you tend to look at those areas of the game, but for me at the minute, those three from Wales have the march on England, and I wouldn't have said that, back in the autumn, because Rob Shaw had outstanding series. So did Haskell. I mean, Billy Vunipola was just epic. All of a sudden, those three are taken out, and the guys coming in haven't quite filled the void in the same way. So, the opportunity needs to be taken. So if Nathan Hughes is given that opportunity, he needs to take it. If Wood's given that opportunity, he needs to take it. I don't think there's any more second chances for England in that back row, because Tipuric and Warburton will take advantage. The other, I suppose, is at fly half. We saw Ford come off with 20 minutes to go. Farrell move up to 10. Is there something? Teo comes on and scores a try. So does Farrell then move to 2? We know how much Eddie Jones loves Owen Farrell. He's that, just the temperament that he has for the game is wonderful. And I thought he played well at the weekend. So that might be another interesting conundrum.
Okay, the odds are Wales to win 11-6, draw 18-1. England, quite surprisingly, I think, 9-4 on. 9-4 on to beat Wales in Cardiff.
Yeah, I think that's taken the previous form into account. England are on 15. England, however poorly they played last weekend, you don't win 15 games on the bounce, without being a very good side. So I think there's good reason for that assessment of their odds. But at the minute, they're not playing their best rugby, and all that matters is how they play at the weekend. So the judgment, that we're going to make is on last weekend's performance, and it needs to be significantly better for them to match those odds, I think.
Okay, finally, a score prediction.
I think England have got that bogey game out of the way, and actually in some ways I think it would have done England a world of good to lose last weekend. It would have been a good kick up the arse that they needed to make sure that they're concentrating on all the basics that they need to keep working on. You look at the set piece, the line out, some of those line outs the weekend were just atrocious. You wouldn't expect from your under 15 B team. But in terms of the score, I do think England will go away and will have assessed what they've done. Eddie would have looked at his preparation, addressed it. Gustav Borthwick would have done the same. And I think you'll see a rejuvenated England with a few changes coming and win it by 7.
France versus Scotland. Really tricky one, this, isn't it? Because although France lost, they were really good against England. And obviously Scotland were terrific at home, but they've got to go to Paris. How do you see that one going?
Really tough game to call, because the Scots of the weekend, last weekend, we knew that they had improved, but I certainly didn't think they'd improved enough to beat a very strong Ireland side. How wrong could I be? And
very wrong, as it turned out.
It did turn out. It did turn out that way. And France, although we got the prediction right in terms of the win-loss, the scoreline was nowhere near what I thought it would be. Ring rusty England, excellent France, whatever the way you look at it, Picamole, back to his best. It is going to be a very difficult game to call. Both sides playing really nice rugby. But in France, you'd be hard pressed to argue against a home win for the French, with that environment that they can create. Although I think, Scotland are a very good side at home. Historically, they've been very poor away from home. If they can edge a win against France, I see absolutely no reason why they can't go the distance and really challenge. And it'll make, for a wonderful game, England-Scotland, in a month's time, what a game that will be.
To win in Paris, do you need to get an early lead? Do you need to sort of silence the crowd, see French heads drop?
I think with this French side at the moment, if you get on top of them quickly, they will definitely drop. They're not full of confidence because they've come off a string of close defeats, big defeats. They've just had a good game against England, but still lost. You can see how much that hurt them at the weekend. So they're not full of confidence. So I think you're right. If you get into them early, if you get a couple of scores on, I think you'll see a confident Scotland, who are choosing to kick for corners rather than kick for posts. Who are electing to run the ball out of normally unseen areas of the Scottish half, that the ball would be put straight up in the air and the wingers would chase. They're playing some really exciting, confident rugby. So I do think Scotland can do it, and if they do it, it will be I think by probably 10 points, because I think they have the ability to hunt down those tries now, whereas maybe they didn't a few years ago.
You highlighted Stuart Hogg last week. You were correct. Had a great game against Ireland, and he'll relish a chance, won't he, to play in Paris.
Just, when you've got players on form, confidence is so infectious. You can see the other players around Hogg, around Gray, around Russell. You can see the enthusiasm. It grows everyone's self-esteem and confidence as they see their mates doing well, and then it takes, someone else takes it on another yard, and all of a sudden that momentum keeps growing and growing and growing. And all of a sudden you believe in what you're trying to achieve, which I don't think Scotland have done as a team for a long time. Now they know they can win, and they've got the players that can do it, which is incredibly exciting. Laidlaw, is a diminutive figure really at 9, but such stature for his position, and a great leader, in terms of his enthusiasm as well, and the way that he plays the game. He has a motor on him, an engine on him that never stops. And
you mentioned the Gray brothers. I mean, the Lions are going to be blessed with many lock forwards. Obviously, there's potentially 2, 3, 4 English locks. There's Alan Wynne-Jones, they're the Irish guys, but the Gray brothers were both phenomenal against Ireland. Johnny Gray produced 28 tackles.
Yeah, I think it all comes back to their club games. I think if you play consistently well together as a team, one of the things Scotland has never really had, it had 2 professional sides, and actually the majority of its players were off playing around the world. Whether it was in the English Premiership, in Wales, in France, and they're off all over the place. So all of a sudden you've got the majority of your team playing at one club. They then move to the national side with the same confidence that they've had from that club game. And you see the benefits, you see it clear and plain, and maybe why you didn't see it for the likes of England, where you bring a side together actually who've not been together for a while, and it takes time. So an exciting period of time for Scottish rugby fans, I think.
And finally, we talked about Sergio Parise earlier. Louis Picamore, he used to play against a great French back row, didn't he, when England played France. It's they've had obviously Dusatoir, they've had some decent players, but Picamore's performance against England was outstanding, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's one of those players that for a team you need to go forward, you need to get through the first tackle. As soon as you do that and you've got the ability to free your hands and give a pass, you can then get into the weak areas, or the easy areas to attack, which is behind the defence. And every time he carried, he got past the game line and able to offload. And he really challenged the English defence, which was, which you don't often see. With Paul Gustard, or whether it was Andy Farrell before, or Phil Larder before that, England have always had a rock solid defence. But for the first time, we've seen them really challenged, and predominantly it was because of Picamore. The amount of work he got through at the weekend, whether it was offloading, whether it was the power game, the carrying game. He was a delight to watch, and now he's plying his trade at Northampton as well. We get the joys of seeing him in the Premiership.
Okay, well the BetSafe odds are France actually are 5-2 on to win, and draw is 20-1, and Scotland 11-5. It's going to be, hopefully, should be high scoring, but you think Scotland maybe, do you?
I would love to see Scotland win it. It will be a massive challenge for them. I don't know what the stats are and how many times they've won in France, but it would be incredibly low. But it's just about confidence. If Hogg and Finn Russell can orchestrate an early score, a la the Ireland game at the weekend where they got 2 early scores, suddenly you're in confident position. You can keep building and pushing, and you can add to the scoreboard with the 3 points here and 3 points there. All of a sudden you're building a gap in the score between the opposition. If they can do that, they will win the game. Because I don't think France have got the resilience at the moment that they need. A lot of young players, again, the 9 and 10 young combination. There's plenty of experience mixed in there, but yeah, I'd say Scotland by 5.
Okay, well that ends our BetSafe preview of the Six Nations for the coming weekend. Next week is a fallow week, so that means, Lewis, you won't be seeing me for 2 weeks rather than 1 week. I thought I'd break it to you gently, but try and get by, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks, and we'll bring you our preview for week 3.
I thought you were going to say milk tray then.
Milk tray?
Yeah.
You're back to the milk tray joke.
I'll bring you a milk tray.
Right, okay. And I'll bring you...
Maybe that should be a prize for people
Yeah.
that guess the right score.
And what I'll do is I'll bring you anything smart, okay, to wear.
Just not a polo neck.
Okay. See you in a couple of weeks' time.